The following is a presentation of the St. Louis Chess Club.
Hello everybody and welcome to day 2 of the 2022 Fall Chess Classic. Yesterday we were able to see quite a lot of very exciting action and we're hoping that's something that continues into today. My name is Jonathan Schrantz and I'm joined here by Grandmaster Evgenij Miro. We're going to go with Miro. I think that's a little bit easier for, at least for me to say. I don't know how you guys are feeling at home, but it's great to have you with us and I'm glad we can all...
Thanks very much. And for those who were wondering, it's not that Jonathan much taller, it's my chair is a little bit low adjusted. With this out of the way, let's talk about the second round, or the standings after round 1.
Let's just get right to it. Let's see who is playing. Let's check out these standings for the A group. And yesterday we did see a couple of decisive results in the A group. We had Vidit, who actually had a bad position at one point, came back and found a way to get this past D pawn all the way down the board. We also saw Nijat Abasov. He played a very interesting game where he won relatively quickly in about 21 moves or so. We have about the rest of the field. We got Yangyi, Hans Niemann, Illia Nyzhnyk, Grigoriy Oparin, One Win, Nikolas Theodorou all on a half point, and Aram and Surya still looking to get some points in this tournament. And with that, let's go ahead, Miro, and take a look at the B group.
Well, B group, the station is quite the opposite. So we have 2 leaders in the A group and we have only 2 people on 50% in the B group. So a lot of results and, well, my apologies to Cristian Chirila. We left him and I kind of came up with the idea that he has the winning position. Perhaps it was such, but he eventually lost. So 4 winners, 4 players tied for the first and 4 at the bottom. Right, Sadhwani, Kadric, Lenderman. Lenderman, by the way, won this everlasting endgame, right? 70 plus moves. And yeah, and Tigran Harutyunyan as well.
And with that, we'll go ahead and see the format of this tournament. This is a 2-player, there's 2 fields, there's 2 10-player round robins. There is 90 minutes for the first 40 moves. You get an additional 30 minutes at move 40, and after, all throughout the game, you get a 30-second increment, so a relatively well-known formats. Now, let's go ahead and check out our schedule for this event. Miro.
Yeah, schedule is pretty straightforward. Right, yesterday's round 1 already removed from the graphics. Each round is played at 1 p.m. We have no free days and the last round will start a couple of hours earlier. Why is that? Because playoff, if necessary, will be played on the same day at 5 p.m.
Wonderful. And just so people do know, we are checking in with you guys here, and maybe you can get a little bit more interactive on this show. I'm sitting here, I'm watching the chat, I'm looking at Twitch, I'm looking at YouTube. I want to give a big shout out to my queen gets around on Twitch. I see Patrick Daly on YouTube. We are watching all of the chats, and if you do want to get a hold of us on social media, please use the hashtag #FallChessClassic. Watch all of the games live on US Chess Champs and be very active in the chats, because everything that you do, whether you're watching on YouTube or whether you're watching on Twitch, all of the money that we do make actually goes to a fantastic cause. And this would be the part of the show where it would be really awesome to get some hype started, maybe get some sort of hype train on Twitch. All of the bits and subscriptions is going to an excellent place. Every $75 that we raise actually goes to getting one kid an entire semester of programming. We have grandmasters that go out to different schools and they're able to give classes every single week to kids. So every $75 is an entire program, which is typically 10 weeks for kids. So thank you everybody joining us today. Now, with all of that in mind, let's go ahead and get into the action right away, and let's go ahead and check out the pairings for the A group.
All right, so we have Grigoriy Oparin with 1 win, Nijat Abasov with Yangyi. Nijat is in the lead, but yeah, very tough opposition. Vidit also has the white pieces. That means both leaders won with black yesterday. Vidit against Nikolas Theodorou, Illia Nyzhnyk against Surya Ganguly, and the man himself, Hans Niemann, with the white pieces.
I can see. We see chat. We know what they're looking for. I can see you guys. Everybody wants to know what's going on in the game between Hans Niemann and Aram Hakobyan. So let's not disappoint the people. Let's jump right into it and see exactly what we got going on the board.
So that's the current position after Hans just moved the queen. The queen got attacked with rook on d2, so he played queen c3. That's move 27 we are talking about. Well, the opening wasn't that impressive, particularly.
Well, is it possible to look at it? I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have missed.
Started very quiet. So, as Italian would say, the game was very quiet, or
yes,
the gioco was quite piano. Yeah. Bishop to c4, bishop c5, d3 castles, and that once again, if we are digging a bit too deeper, it actually has some point to it, castling before going c3, because if black castles and then after c3 plans to go d5, then instead of c3 you can actually play bishop g5 or some other stuff. Right, so well, some subtleties with the moves order, but it is getting transposed into main lines of the d6. C3, a6, that's kind of an old-fashioned thingy. Before bishop e6, bishop takes, rook takes, and then, well, bishop g5 is kind of a newish move, at least to me, because knight bd2, I still remember, was played by, okay, maybe you've heard of those guys, Kramnik and Ant.
Yeah, those sound familiar to me.
Right. So bishop to g5, h6, and white just trades on f6, goes knight d2. You know what, sometimes I have a feeling that when you look at those big players like 2700, 2700 plus, it's very tempting to try to look for an opening idea. I mean, so the guy, since he played this, perhaps he meant
might
something.
know something, yeah.
but it's not often the case. I mean, it might have been, okay, let's play bishop g5, see what happens.
With this opening in particular, the Gioco Pianissimo, like, I mean, it just seems like there's so many teeny tiny little nuances. Is this something, I mean, obviously you have some sort of ideas. Are people actually, specifically with this opening, memorizing tons of theory, or is it mainly just the ideas that you think they're coming up with?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe like, well, a handful of people, like Magnus, I imagine, Fabi, right? I mean, because they tend to, but let's say even grandmasters who are very strong grandmasters who are playing in our A group, I believe it's more about, okay, here is this plan, and then if he goes, say, a6, I'm supposed to go h3.
It definitely feels that way.
More of a, you know, you're sailing without navigation, without anything, but there are lighthouses. Right. So you see this one, okay, I pivot here. So perhaps that's how it goes. And somewhere around this point, it feels like position is completely equal, to be perfectly honest. And if anyone, it's actually black who's first to grab the d file. White, however, has a little bit more space, so should be around equal. Yeah, and then Hans starts, I guess, somewhere around here, starts to try to play for more than a draw. Let's put it this way. I mean, it's not that many options left. Queen to b2. Queen e6, counter-attacking h3, king to g2, f7, f6, and this is something I specifically didn't like.
The structure that he,
no. I mean, Hans's last move, like knight h4, so structure, I mean, he already created some holes here, right? Hakobyan. Then b5 is on your agenda, but I'm, let's say, as a classical, as an old guy, as a classical player, I'm not very happy with black controlling the d file, so I would try to challenge black on the d file, maybe going queen c2. The queen was there a couple of moves ago. Anyway, right. And knight h4 not only doesn't fight for the d file, but actually invites rook d2. So I'd be a little bit scared. Queen c3, Hans not scared. And yeah, so here we are, 27 moves, 18 minutes left for Hakobyan.
And there's still maybe some stuff that I guess white could potentially consider. I mean, the knight's coming to f5. At some point, maybe you have a b4 break. Maybe at some point, you could do something on the king side.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you manage to get to f5, you pretty much automatically land on d6. So I wonder if black just plays g6, which stops knight f5, but at the same time kind of makes his king side even looser.
And I wonder if this is maybe his idea. Is he trying to provoke like g6, and he can always bring his knight back to
and then
f3,
the knight goes back.
Who cares? Your rook came in. I kick you back. But okay, well, we've seen what happens in this one. I think there's still actually, it started a little bit boring, but I think maybe there's still a little bit of action, something worth coming back to for sure. But let's also talk about the other section, because there's also a B section here. So let's go ahead and check out the pairings for this round. With the top billing here, we got Tigran Harutyunyan going up against Christopher Yu today. Akshat Chandra is going up against Alex Lenderman, Arman Mikaelyan versus Denis Kadric, Brandon Jacobson versus Raunak Sadhwani. And our star matchup, at least the one that we're going to be checking out first things first, is our own commentator, Cristian Chirila, going up against Gergely Kantor. And we were talking yesterday about how we thought when we left the show that Cristian actually had a fantastic position, but that was not the case. He actually somehow managed to lose. So both of these players are unfortunately sitting on 0 points. But let's jump into it, because I think they had something interesting going on early. Miro.
Yeah, a very interesting position, and once again a noticeable difference between A group and the B group, and I wouldn't call that, say, A group knows their theory better, but they are much faster developing, like going to the middle game, while now that I'm checking the round, like all round in the B group, after what it is that, like 3 hours of play or 2.5 hours of play, and early opening stage most of the games.
Yeah, it's
these
weird to
guys
contrast, is it?
really like to spend a lot of time, really like to kind of start playing the most competitive chess.
Do you think there's like a reason?
Right from
do
the
good
start.
players just not need as much time to come up with good moves, or is it a theory thing?
Not really.
What's the reason for this?
I think strangely it's more of a in these higher levels they have this I respect you, you respect me attitude, right? So I mean, if there is an open file, let's trade all the rooks there, you know. And these guys, I mean, how crazy it is. Move 16, Cristian, they're both down to like less than 20 minutes. Yeah.
Interesting. So we definitely have our eye on this one, but I've also just heard that Raunak Sadhwani, who's actually one of our tournament leaders, has potentially just won another game today. So we'll have to check in with this one as well in the B section.
Let me see. Yeah, that's the first result for today. One with the black pieces, and I haven't seen much of these games.
Yeah, we can start from the top. I mean, I'm sure most people haven't seen everything from the top.
I'll just quickly go through, right? So the
Nimsa,
the good old Nimsa still serves pretty well.
I guess not in this occasion. Well, I guess it did for black. From black's point of view, it certainly did work out today.
7,
see how they got
B2, B6, Bishop B2. Yeah, once again, I mean, if to point out something, that Queen C7 is considered to be kind of clever moves order. So Bishop E2 goes there, goes there. Ah, right. And why is that? Because Bishop D3, and that's the stuff you'd like to play normally. You want to put the bishop on D3 and B2 to go for E4, but this time it's C takes, a check, and in order to guard the rook, you have to block with the bishop, but then the other bishop is lost. Okay, so that's kind of a tiny...
That's a good little point, though, to
tiny but important
so
point,
to go back to E2.
All right, and with the bishop on E2, it's much harder to play E4, of course. So he goes for C4, and once again, I believe, this possibly had been known to both players, in fact. I mean, this does look like some theoretical position to me. Knight to G6, knight to D3. Well, logical perhaps. Bishop F1, H5. Alpha 0 style. I mean, push the pawn. You have the pawn, push the pawn, right? Queen to E2, H4, F3. Well, logical, kind of stopping the, I don't know, building a fence, right? Against this bishop, knight to H7, DC5, H3. Ah, yeah, and now I cannot recall it. Yeah, this is the position I've seen when I was checking the live games. H3, a very interesting intermezzo. So inviting perhaps white to take on B6, where he's going to take on G2, and then F3 pawn is kind of shaky. Black all of a sudden gets a lot of very
those
attractive...
knights need to somehow get into the game, and this would be very good for black.
Yeah, very, very attractive squares, but white has played G3, which looks solid and even kind of more logical.
Attacks
but
the H-pawn?
It happens to be perhaps a decisive mistake, right? Because then knight to G5, F3, and F5 is particularly strong. So F5, and he breaks through on the light squares, and white reacted with E takes.
Yeah, sensible.
F5, well, allows knight F3, but you know what happened?
No,
actually,
I mean, black's about to do something brilliant. Look at this.
H4, and honestly, that's such a clever idea. So when you take
the G file, I suppose.
It's a check, and first of all, you can't really go to F2 because now it's Queen H4.
Ah, very nice.
Right. So before that, the plan was, I mean, basically when white captures on F5, he already gives up the exchange by, let's say, allowing knight F3 and so on, right? So after knight H4, it's check. You can't go to F2, and after King H1, I reckon. I mean, first of all, you can just take the rook, but also this must work. I mean, check over here, and then you might actually bring the queen in as well, threatening
Fantastic
Queen G1.
Stuff. This is great.
And this, you know, this diagonal, it's just, it's
absolutely beautiful. Yeah, monstrously big win there. So huge news for Raunak, who now sits on 2 points.
2 out of 2.
Total.
That's
as good as it gets.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So are there any other games? We can actually take a little trip around the horn and see, potentially, maybe we want to head back to the A group and see what other games we got going on.
Let's update the chats on the station in the A group, because here, no results whatsoever. Hans's game, in fact, Black did not play G6, but Hans decided to return the knight to F3 anyway. Perhaps because knight F5 is met with something like knight G5, you can go to D6, H3 is hanging, and also Black has the threat of capturing on E4 and then F5.
Removing a defender of the knight, very nice. Yeah. So very nice idea by Black.
So instead he went knight F3, tries to push this rook away, and perhaps he'll be back to what I was originally mentioning, go queen C2 and start trading the rooks.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, with all seriousness though, White shouldn't be at any risk of losing. I mean, if thing goes badly, you just go queen B3, trade the queens, go B5, trade the pawns, and that should be enough for a draw.
All right, well, we'll come back to this one, but what else is going on in the A section?
Well, I'll just go one by one. Oparin against Van Nguyen. What's here? White is a pawn down, but I suppose that's the pawn he sacrificed, because the rook on H5 looks almost trapped. White's last move being H2, H4. So G4 is an actual threat. And then if Black goes C4, kind of clearing the fifth rank, I assume F5 is what White wants to play.
Wow, look at that.
So F5 you capture and Bishop F3, and that's a nice position.
That's an actual rook trap there.
That's a nice position.
So is there actually a way? How do we get this rook out of here? We gotta.
Yeah.
I mean, there's F5, but then you're not you're trapped in there as well.
Yeah. Could it be that we don't?
Is the rook?
I mean, probably we do not resign just yet, because we can. I mean, if there is nothing better, we could try rook to D5. Just I understand it's not very attractive, but bishop takes, knight takes. Black attacks two pawns, and he already has one for an exchange. So there will be 2 pawns for an exchange. Then? I suspect White has to be better with precise play. Something along the lines of rook D2 captures, and rook C1 starts attacking those pawns. But the game's on. The game's on, and very entertaining, I believe. Right, moving on, Nijat Abasov against Yangyi, so one of the tournament leaders against one of the top seeds. Well, currently...
And this was our Sicilian game, right?
Yeah, there was quite a sharp Sicilian at some point. Now it's...
I'm the kind of guy that needs to see it all from the start.
Sure, let's go.
In order to commit all these games to memory.
Yeah, everyone, of course, nowadays everyone knows what Snyder variation is, and that's exactly what happened.
All right, good old Najdorf.
Bishop to E2, not the most popular, but once again, if you'd ask Karpov and Kasparov, these guys played it like a couple of championship matches, right? Bishop to E7, to E3, castles, and
very early G4.
Karpovian would be castle short, and then prepare like for another 20 moves, and only then go G4, right? But
let's just get to the point.
Yeah, just go G4 after Queen A5. Who cares about the tempo? Go Bishop D3. But yeah, your idea is quite straightforward. Go G5, move the queen, castle long, checkmate.
Just checkmate him.
Yeah, knight to C6. White doesn't want to trade, so goes here, rook to G1 first, and after B5 goes rook to G3. So a little bit artificial, like instead of running the pawn up the board and opening the file, he's trying to kind of,
get on the H file and give me.
Leapfrog this pawn, right, somehow, and then just put the rook on H3, queen on H5, and he apparently getting stopped like this, rook E8, and wow.
Oh.
Knight to B4, that's fine, but how is he? Knight F8.
You expected knight F8, of course.
Yeah, castles. Turns out he's on time to take on D3 as well. Go B4. So White's basically, whenever White plays rook H3, there is always knight F8, yeah? Bishop to B7, knight here,
so
rook
C8.
Well, actually, this does look like very pleasant position for Black already, since White kind of failed to achieve anything substantial. White backs up, goes queen E2, takes, and knight to bishop D8 first. Oh, well, that's spectacular. Bishop D8, rook D2, knight to C5. That's a little tricky because rook D6, the pawn on E4 is hanging. Okay, So it has to take, pawn takes, and rook to g1.
All right.
So,
We didn't give checkmate. We've
No.
gotten into this endgame.
right, I'm thinking black is probably looking for the way to play for an advantage. It's too early to say if black has something substantial, but pair of bishops and somehow, the general experience, like whenever you survive till the end game
Yes.
in the Sicilian, right? So
Yeah, somehow it always feels like these white pawns get overextended over on the king side.
Yeah.
Somehow they all become targets later if you don't give checkmate.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wonderful. What else,
So
do we have
that's
going
the
on?
one, Vidit.
Let's see how
and
he's doing.
Theodorou, they already have some endgame opposite colored bishops where Vidit is a pawn up. Okay, just quickly, we'll run through this one. Knight to c3, c5, which is a
Okay, we've seen this one now again.
Tarrasch defense, yeah. And then no such luck as Tarrasch, but just a symmetrical line, a6. Yeah, that's one of those like
A6,
really
yeah.
amazing positions because, no, not even a6, but this one, because white basically says that I'm ready to play with an isolated pawn because if you take cd4, I take ed4. But if you don't take, then you'll be the one playing with an isolated pawn.
Yeah, it's definitely.
And with black, you're kind of confused. But is it good or bad to have an isolated pawn? because I can make you play with an isolated pawn. I can have an isolated pawn myself. Okay.
But
well,
black
black
plays
does
A6.
A6. So now he is prepared. I mean, first of all, he kind of waits for this bishop to move, and then black takes, and instead of recapturing on c4 in one go, you kind of spend the tempo.
He's also waiting. He's not moving his bishop on f8 yet because he's
Yeah,
he's waiting for
absolutely.
the same exact. They're playing the same cat and
Right.
mouse game on both sides here.
Yeah, so cd5, ed5, g3, and to be perfectly honest, g3 I'm not sure if I've ever seen in this position, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad move. G3, and then one more plus behind this, having a7, a6 played, that you can actually play c4, and if needed, back it up with b7, d5.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So bishop g2, bishop b4. Well, what
Could have been almost any pawn structure, but we're going to see this one here.
Yeah, well, but what's interesting, black actually plays in a very ambitious fashion, and I have to say, yeah, rook to e8,
Okay.
trade it here, b3, a5, b8.
Interesting.
Okay, and then now I kind of don't like it all that much.
Okay, so he had a clever way to not have to take on c4. Okay, he's had some clever idea behind it. We can understand
so
now.
bishop a6, rook e1 captures, f3. But how did he ended up losing a pawn? Yeah, I remember when checking this one, I actually felt, for those, don't know, kind of older and more experienced chatters, I felt Petrosian vibes. You know, this game when he played rook e7 to e6 under attack of the bishop, which is published like literally everywhere. the exchange, Petrosian's exchange sacrifice. Reshevsky Petrosian, was it? Yeah, so the bishop is here and then he plays like rook e6. Some similarities, but anyway, queen a4 happens to be a double attack on the bishop and a5 pawn. Bishop d3, e5 once again with a tempo, knight goes to d5, white captures, knight c3, queen c3, everything is guarded, so black couldn't find anything better but to trade. Okay, and it was his decision to take the knight. Interesting. So he values this a pawn more than a two bishops advantage. Yeah, fair enough. All right. Rook e1, and this is where we stand now.
Interesting. And for those that actually don't know, Nikolas Theodorou joined this tournament a little bit late. We had a player withdraw at kind of the last second here, and so he's only had maybe 1 or 2 days to potentially prepare for different opponents. And as somebody that I guess has played not only in this tournament, but in similar high-level events, how much does that affect your preparation, or how much you're able to do, or do you think that you pick different openings because you have a significantly smaller amount of time to prepare, or do you think it makes any effect at all?
That's actually a big question. Now, it depends on how well or how bad you're prepared overall, right? Because if you trust your openings all the time, then okay, perhaps that's the most tempting choice. Okay, I've kind of snuck in the last moment. Let's play. Let's see where we stand. Right. Well, for me, it'd be a disaster because I was always kind of trying to target my opponent specifically, and that's an excuse for not knowing everything well, right? I mean, okay, I'll do a specific preparations, guys. Don't worry, I don't have to care about my opening repetition, right?
Yeah,
I'll prepare against the opponent.
Two very different philosophies. The benefit, of course, being that
yeah, you can always
can prepare as well for you.
Surprise your opponents, yeah, but then you need time for this, right? You learn, okay, I'm playing the round robin, I have a month, and then let's think, okay, I'm playing white with this guy or black, so I kind of prepare for both case scenarios. He didn't have this luxury, so indeed he probably
goes in that second hand where maybe he wants it to be a little bit harder for people to prep for him, but we'll see how it goes for Nikolas Theodorou, who
right.
And an interesting game here.
There is one more game that we didn't look
let's go ahead and check this
at
one out.
all, and that's Illia Nyzhnyk, who has, I want to say, sacrificed the queen, but we do not know for sure.
Wow.
Against
What's happening
Ganguly.
here?
That's
Holy cow.
Believe it or not, but that's actually a Joko, another Joko. Another Joko.
Yeah, as we've seen, this can become literally anything.
Yeah, knight to d2, h3, so far so good, a6, a4. Bishop to a7, well, reminds me of something.
Illia, though, on Illia's hand, I do have a little bit of insight. For those that don't know, Illia is he does do a lot of work here for us. He does a lot of the streams that you might be watching here on Twitch. Shout out to everybody. Hey, Remshocked, how's it going? He, I know for a fact, is one that has said kind of publicly that he doesn't think that he's as well prepared in his openings as somebody else. And this actually might be the kind of opening that suits his style, because it's kind of one of those ones where maybe you don't need to be as heavily dense into the theory. If you just kind of know the ideas, you can kind of come up with the right moves and plans. And I think that definitely is Ilya's style. So
yeah, and I'm wondering, I'm honestly wondering about his opponent's move, the bishop e6 move, because I think we even talked about this yesterday, and I was kind of being told on many occasions that this is not what you're supposed to be doing. Like bishop e6 is not such a great idea when white has a4 and b4 played, like where white has the space. All right, so captured here, knight g3. And once again, the thoughts about this position, they usually evolve with the level of chess understanding. Because I remember being like a kid, and God, give me this semi-open F file.
It's the easiest way to attack
I'll probably
F7,
trade an ice cream for this open F file. Because I mean, you just move the knight, you double, you sacrifice on F3, you win.
It's beautiful.
But then somehow when the players with white getting a little bit more advanced, you understand that, double pawn is the double pawn. Nobody's interested to get checkmated. they tend to defend and so on.
Yes.
Anyway, so our game developed this way. Queen to b3 perhaps targets the b7 pawn. I don't know. Okay, it's been a lot of moves. That's perhaps the next stop when the structure got polarized even further, right? So white has 4 versus 2 on the king side or right side of the board. Black has the same on the left side. Rook e8, rook to a3. Nice maneuver. And okay, that's deep, because I mean, after rook a3, you want to say, and rook g3 comes logically, but not really, because knight d4, h4 pawn was hanging. So that's why he went rook d1 to capture on d4 with the rook if needed. Knight to d4, knight back to f3. So that part is a little bit confusing. I wanted to pretend it was a very logical game though, but yes, g6, knight takes h6, queen g7.
Okay.
So first questions, is knight getting trapped? Apparently not, right? Because white just captures on d5, so that's what he wanted to do. Captures on d5, if knight takes, he perhaps just goes back, says I'm a pawn up, right?
Very nice.
So the knight on f3 is not hanging, it's guarded by the rook. So instead, black has tactical shot of his own. So knight to e2, queen to e2, knight to d4, attacks the queen.
So a lot of things are attacked for white now.
Yeah, everything. And the h6 guy is still hanging, but white comes up with queen takes rook. Now, what's interesting, he could have captured the knight on f3 with a check, rook takes, but then I reckoned it's check, king g8, d6. And it's impossible to stop the pawn.
D-pawns, we've seen it before. They get rolling pretty fast.
Impossible to stop the pawn, and even if you trade the queens, as far as I can see, it's a winning rook endgame as the result. So therefore, black captures on e8 immediately. White has to spend the time to take on d4 and queen. And now he doesn't even take on h6. What's that? Is it?
Yeah, was there an issue with taking on h6?
There wasn't. There wasn't. It's just that rook f8 creates a threat. So he's tricky.
So many counterattacks.
Naughty, naughty. Rook to d1 back.
This is perhaps the biggest thing I'm taking away from all these games. It's just whenever there's some simple recapture, always counterattack.
It's not the move. No, no.
Always complicate with some sort of weird counterattack.
Yeah, but I still don't quite get it. Capturing on d6. Well, perhaps if you spend some time calculating, you probably figure out that d6 wins or something like that.
The d-pawn, or,
because black captured on b2, but it's just bad.
Weird.
Yeah. How do you even continue from there? I mean, knight returns, and like 2 moves needed, and then it, the fog
you can push your
disappears,
and
you just win.
Here for white. This actually is.
Yeah, you just win.
Just winning for white for Illia. Holy cow! So this is one to definitely keep on watch. We just saw the move queen to e2.
Queen e2, rook 1 to d2. I suggest. I mean, you're not forced to. You can. Yeah, I mean, just need to care for this. Maybe you are forced, in fact. But yeah, does it change anything? I mean, rook d2. That's the problem. And since the knight on h6 survived, you can never really trade the queen for pieces, right?
Yeah, I wonder if he thought he had some sort of like attack here, or somehow he was winning the other knight back or something. I don't know exactly what was going on, but maybe this is good for white.
Honestly, it looks lost. Looks lost for Ganguly. He's down to 1 last minute on move 34. So another option, it could be just a terrible time trouble. And then he was not satisfied, say, with a capture on h6. And usually how it goes, you calculate 1 move more or less precisely. If you're not satisfied, you might go for the other one, which possibly is even worse.
It's actually good to see. I know Illia was just playing in a tournament too right before this, that 1000 Grandmaster event, and I know that I was speaking to him on the phone because I asked him how his tournament went, and he didn't tell me exactly, but I could tell from what he was saying that maybe he didn't have his best event of all time, so he was looking to hopefully bounce back and have a good tournament here this time. So good to see Illia in such a fun, interesting position still, and it'll be cool to see how this game continues.
All right, so just quickly going to check once again what happens in Niemann's game against Hakobyan. Not a lot of development here. So after knight f3, rook went back to d7, h4.
Okay, just I guess preventing
the knight from g5. Rook e2, queen g4. Now black kind of has some interest in getting the knight.
Both players are trying to get that knight in there. It just hasn't quite worked yet.
Knight h2, go away. Yep. Rook e3. A lot of maneuvering.
They're battling. This is going to be a battle. We're going to see a lot of little teeny tiny maneuvers. Both sides waiting to see if the other side will crack, which I guess is a good sign. They're still fighting. There's easy ways to maybe make a draw earlier on, but it's good to see that both of these guys are still battling it out.
All right, and now that I'm looking at it, Jonathan, well, once again, perhaps black is tempted to go for knight g6, maybe knight f4 and so on. Here? But then I'm thinking, if we try to trade the rooks, I mean, I'm not sure if it works, but if it does, then usually in the endgame, these guys will be off, right? I mean, it will be a little bit kind of misplaced and so on, and then it will be about white getting to d7, say taking b7 pawn. So it can be anything. Despite kind of quiet looking, it can be anybody's game. Let's check the B group.
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump on back over to the B group, see what's going on. Maybe we have some interesting games.
That's the one that we've checked already. That's the only game that finished so far.
So far, one decisive win for Raunak, who is now sitting at 2 points overall.
Yeah, Chirila.
This was our star game of the day coming into the round.
Yeah.
The game between Cristian Chirila and Gergely. And yeah, we kind of mentioned that potentially black would have these 2 bishops. And are they doing anything, or are they just hanging out?
That's so strange. I mean, the whole position. How do you play this one? So, well, just quickly run through. It's not so many anyway. It's move 19. So there was the Scotch, which is kind of forgotten when we are talking about Magnus and friends. Nobody's playing this Scotch.
This is at least our second Scotch now we're seeing.
Yeah, but interestingly enough, when it happens, it turns out nobody remembers what to do against the Scotch. So white's results in the Scotch are not bad at all.
Yeah, everything that's old is now new again.
Yeah, queen e2, that's still the theory. Knight to d5. Yeah, and this move, h4.
Yeah, this is some new move that,
h4,
relatively recent move.
Yeah, it's relatively recent move on, I think it was played on high level as well, by possibly
So this is what's
Nepo
cool
has
now.
played or something. Yeah, so that's what was played in our game. a5, c4, knight to b6. Once again, me personally, I've never really figured out. I mean, when do you play bishop a6? When do you pin this pawn, right? When you go knight b6? Some guys go as far as just move the knight to b6, like before he's even
as soon as you
attacked.
can.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's just follow, let's believe the players. g3, a4, why not? Queen to e6, knight e2, bishop b4 castles, knight e4, and perhaps it turns out the pawn can... Yeah, I mean, that's the question, which one? Because c4 was also hanging. He captures e5, queen to c2, c5. Actually, I don't like c5 now that I'm thinking, because I don't know if it's possible, but it's supposed to be like this, right? So that the knight on b6 is cut off, but apparently d7, d5 is a threat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting pawn sacrifice. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, but perhaps he has to go
I'm not sure if I see
c5.
the exact reason yet, but maybe is there like a concrete reason, or is this some sort of long-term? We'll get to attack your queen again later. Somehow.
Why did he sacrifice the e5 guy?
He lost a pawn.
Yeah, that's it. Perhaps. Oh well, if you think of it, and how do we untie the whole setup? Because we have to make a move. Yeah, maybe a4 is the move. Yeah, once again, I don't know. Maybe a4 was the move. Anyway, Cristian found it to be attractive. c5, a3, rook to d1. Okay, bishop a6, bishop to h3. Well, funny tricks. And knight to g5
nice.
then.
Threatening mate and the queen.
And the queen, yeah. Okay, so
nice.
bishop h3 and queen really to h5. So now the question is, what do we do? Bishop g5 maybe. Knight g5.
Yeah, a lot of attractive
What I'm also almost sure that we do not take on d7. I mean, being undeveloped, you know.
All right, I'll accept the challenge
right,
then.
like,
I'd like to see what.
Yeah, like
the idea is
bishop
bishop
e2, bishop
e2.
f3 is actually quite unpleasant. Yeah. So right, but once again, the position is so original, so off the charts that it's no surprise that both of them spent like enormous amount of time. Cristian is down to 4 minutes only. His opponent is down to 10, and it's still 20 moves. 20 moves to reach time control.
It is very complicated. It does seem like there could be a tactic lurking around any corner here.
Yeah.
I guess it is kind of important to note that those light square bishops probably needs to stay pretty close for that king, because it's both sides here. I can just imagine getting into a little bit of trouble if you're not careful. So this one will be a cool one to keep our eyes on.
Absolutely. So,
and if we can actually head back to the Illia Nyzhnyk game, I think we may have a major update.
So Ilya's game, well, the major update being the game is over.
That's a big update, yeah.
So right, but we
where did we leave this one off?
We actually were correct.
Yeah, this was the queen sacrifice game.
Well, it turns out, you know,
turns out it was a good sacrifice.
It turns out that 92 was a terrible mistake, and that's after that there was not much to do for. I mean, so White has done everything correctly, basically. And
wonderful.
That was winning anyway. So just to see what was the last moves played, queen to b2, rook d3, queen e2. That's what we've seen. d6, plain and simple. If rook takes f3, rook d2 now.
Ooh, very nice.
Wow. And then d7 next
very
move.
Nice.
So you can't really do much. Rook g3.
Okay,
And that's not the same rook g3 as yesterday, right? Yesterday rook g3 3 led to perpetual check. Well, actually, wasn't it in Nyzhnyk's game? I'm not even sure. Yeah.
He's aware of this
Quite possibly, yeah. But today, White does have the way to avoid the perpetual after queen f2, which is the only, not the only check. Queen f2, king h3, or queen h4.
Queen h4 maybe seems natural because you're also on the promotion square, but
yeah, but how do we run away? We go here. That's the only check. We go here down. Knight is very helpful.
Very nice.
And then the last check is this, and now I'm sure it's the last check because knight g4.
Wonderful.
Well,
and great to see Ilya getting on the board. Now, yesterday people were telling us that these interviews they looked a little bit more like a VHS tape.
Wasn't it intentional?
So you know what? Just for these guys, I mean, that was intentional. Obviously, we said
but they didn't like it.
Don't let them outdo the commentators. But you know what? Today we have done a major update, so I cannot wait to see this brilliant interview that we have going on today with Illia Nyzhnyk. Let's tune it in.
All right, I'm here with Grandmaster Illia Nyzhnyk off his win against Grandmaster Guly. How did it happen, Grandmaster Illia Nyzhnyk? Take me through the game and just, tell me all about it.
Well, to begin with, I think my opening choice must have thrown Surya off a little bit because I started with the move e4, which I don't usually play. So we had a relatively standard Italian structure, Italian game. Where I believe Surya had a pretty decent position, but then, he made a couple of what I believe were questionable decisions, especially his choice of playing e5 on move 18. So the move e5 allowed me to release pressure in the center, and that's kind of what I was looking for, just kind of open things up in the center, because unless he plays e5 himself, I wasn't quite sure how I'm going to be making progress in that position. I had a couple of ideas, but e5 definitely kind of put me on a right state of mind where I knew exactly that I'm supposed to be playing in the center. So after he played e5, the game suddenly became really, really dynamic. Where, well, I would say unsurprisingly so, because after he plays e5, he will have to deal with quite a few weaknesses in his position. So he decided to kind of make the game a little bit more exciting, and by the move, I believe by the move 26, the spot where I played knight to f3, I was already very confident that my position is close to winning. However, in a couple of moves after I played knight f3, so we're talking move 29, right? So at knight f3, d5. g3, g6, knight h6, queen g7. Here, I thought that after I captured the pawn on d5, everything just magically works out, and I wasn't really aware of the fact that Surya had not what he did in the game, because in the game Surya played knight e2, which I believe is a critical mistake that loses the game. But instead of knight e2, Surya should have started with knight to d4. That move has the same idea behind it, but because the knight still remains on f4, right? So the knight remains untouched. It keeps the option of going to h3. So that's the point. When black goes knight d4, now if I take with a knight, black has knight h3 check, and because my f2 pawn is exposed, essentially that would have been a better version of what happened in the game, and I believe that position was quite likely that Surya would have survived there. But in the game, what happened was I gave up my queen for a rook and a knight, while also maintaining a couple of pawns. I also had a couple of pawns for the material, and also very importantly a passed pawn on the d file, which obviously played a critical role in me winning the game. So with knight d4, I believe Surya would have at least gotten one of his missing pawns back, and would have also exposed my king, which I think should have given him enough counterplay to save the game. So that's how I feel about this, and I hope that's good enough of a
lovely way to play the second round, Illia Nyzhnyk. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Good luck.
So there you have it. That was Illia Nyzhnyk. Maybe his opponent had a knight d4 resource in there somewhere. Very interesting to get his take on that very imbalanced game. And thank you once again to Jacob Sanders, who will be providing all of these interviews throughout this event. So
absolutely, with improved camera quality.
Yes, and chat was very impressed. Everybody loved it. So things only get better as the days go on.
You know what? We absolutely have to look at Hans's game, because
yes, of course. Let's get back to
things
this
are
one.
heating up. Well, not on the clock though, because Hans just reached move 40.
All right, they do receive 30 minutes at move 40.
All right, so queen to e2 was the move, after which knight f4
right, so we do
followed.
see a sacrifice here.
We do see a sacrifice, but perhaps not to try to win, but rather to force a draw.
No. No. Say it's not true.
That's the position. Well,
And so they've had this twice now. Is this if the queen goes to g4? How many
yeah,
times? We're looking at three times there?
that'd be 3.
Perhaps he's called an arbiter and he says, "I'm about to make my threefold repetition."
Well, can he actually try to do? No, not really. I was thinking some rook d2, but then queen takes. That's the problem.
We can
Like,
get sort of
I'm
the
not
Ilya
even-
situation. Where
Yeah,
you-
like I'm not even sure if this is a checkmate. Apparently not, right? That the king's running, but runs to g4 and so on. But even if it's a checkmate, then white always has plan B to take with the queen, and it will be Nyzhnyk.
We saw how well it worked out for Ilya, so
Nyzhnyk's
maybe
game.
we could see it work out here. So
So
a
it
draw
doesn't.
is what we are expecting.
Yeah, it's very likely we'll just finish in a perpetual check, which means Hans will be held for a draw.
Yeah.
Yet another time. Yeah.
Yeah, so if this ends in a draw too, there's a big pairing for Hans coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a huge matchup. We'll have Yangyi with the white pieces going up against Hans Niemann. So that's a must-watch game tomorrow.
Right. Meanwhile, we just got another result. Oparin makes a draw against Van Nguyen. What was the position again? The rook on
This was
h5, the trap
one. It didn't get
rook.
trapped.
It didn't. No.
Oh, okay. Or maybe let's
It didn't.
see what happened.
Yeah, h4 is what we've seen last.
All right.
And it turns out not rook d5, but knight d5 is possible.
All right.
And how is that? I mean, I go g4, I thought. A check over here. King goes to f3, right? Because if king goes to the first rank, then we don't know what happens, right?
This looks like a complicated study where no matter where you go, there's just one particular line.
There is something, like king e1 I was originally thinking, but then knight takes f4, and then the rook gets the square, and if you take, then it's a check followed by rook e4, and black is getting this position exchange for the pawns, but many more pawns.
Complicated.
Many more pawns than in our line, right?
This stuff is so hard to figure out when there's so many moves to calculate here.
In fact, the computer says that it was all equal, so means both players played nearly perfect. f5.
I think this is the kind of game where when they're both talking about it in the postmortem, they say, like, I don't know what was going on, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
The computer just says, yeah, it was fine. Obviously, you guys played great.
Right, a check.
Okay.
Just
And that's
repeat
how they,
it,
yeah.
And Niemann's game is officially over, so we do.
Okay, so we saw a
have only
repetition
two.
there. So a couple draws now.
The 2 games are in progress in the A group. Once again, reminder, those are Abasov and Yangyi, where it's only move 32. That means, Abasov specifically is down to 4 minutes only. And Yangyi still has 12.
Looks like he's got 2 bishops and an extra pawn.
Right, so something like that
Yes,
we've
okay,
seen.
this
Yeah,
was our
just push the pawn.
Sicilian game, white went for the early checkmate, but the queens got traded off.
Bishop c6 and b3. Okay. Pawn takes, and if you capture, I believe it will be about some discovered attacks. I don't know, like bishop a5, maybe then followed by bishop e4, and all the pieces disappear from the c file. So white decided to go e5, but then b takes e2, and it's not that easy to. Perhaps you can't really take it for now. So knight e4 first, rook d8, knight d6. What's going on?
Well, he's attacking a rook.
What's going on? I mean, you can, quite possibly, you can take this guy. Now, the rook, if the rook takes, perhaps bishop e, I mean, I'm not sure, or bishop a4 maybe. But, I mean, the key point is that the c2 pawn survives, and this is something you don't want to see, right? So you probably take with the pawn, where the rook controls both the e4 and a4 squares. But black goes bishop d5, and while white is trying to win the c2 pawn, black at the very least captures d6, and will have, you know, this never-ending endgame with rooks, opposite-colored bishops, and one side being a pawn up.
Yeah.
These are usually very, very long games. And to confirm on that, we already have one, which is Vidit against Theodorou. These guys are somewhat closer to the time control, but still, the game's on, obviously. And Yeah, I'm not sure how to feel about this because, yeah, it is an extra pawn for white, but black done quite well by starting to trade the pawns, trade the rooks and so on. Because like in a remote, in a distant future, we might start talking about this king running to a8, you know, black trading the bishop for the last pawn remaining and speculating on this fact that, yeah, the a pawn and the bishop of a wrong color do not win.
Yeah, so very likely we might see quite a lot of draws in today's event. Things are slowing down. We had a lot of action yesterday. Things may be slowing down in round 2.
Okay, but how about the B group? The B group perhaps is not planning to slow down.
Yes, this one's still very interesting. Yeah, this is. Have we
we
seen a move? Or is this exactly
wait a second.
where we left
I mean,
it?
I'm confused. What's the? Yeah, I'll just have to. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we do have some moves.
Move 23. White's on 2 minutes. Black's on 3, but he's to move. So that's a disadvantage usually when you're in time trouble because
Yes, definitely.
you are the one spending time, right? So for rook d1, and the queen was forced to h5. Rook to d4. And yeah, logical,
fascinating.
of course. I mean, who needs development anyway? F5, knight to c3, bishop takes. So black is so happy to take with this a5 bishop because it was doing absolutely nothing here. So bishop takes, pawn takes, rook e8, and white is happy as well, finally developing his bishop from c1.
Okay.
I think, well, the dust kind of settles down a little bit. White probably wins the a4 pawn back at some point, but also black can, if anything, just trade on f4 and try to play solid. So perhaps it's sort of, you know, white's probably slightly better. That would be my assessment. Let me cheat and check what computer has to say.
All right,
Minus
our first-
1.6.
our first cheat of the,
experts in the studio.
of the broadcast.
Minus 1.6. So black is up 1.5 pawns. Miro says
fascinating.
white's slightly better. Yeah.
Huh. So I guess, yeah, we can try to unpack this one, I guess, and try to understand exactly what.
Okay. Well, maybe
reason
because
is.
of this move, rook to e4. Because I was, yeah, I mean, me as a, you know, chess pensioner, I was looking for the way to trade pieces.
Trade and make the
yeah,
draw
kind of
and-
trade pieces peacefully.
You're trying to play in the A section. This is the B section where they try to win.
Yeah. Sorry for confusion. Yeah, so rook e4, and that's a powerful move, I expect, because like trade and then the other rook joins the action, and all of a sudden I was making fun of this light square bishop, but you know, bishop d3 intermediate at some point will be the case, and if you take e4, then Nigel Short told me that this one is called, for whatever reason, I mean, those
has a name.
inner British jokes, but this kind of is called
I have no idea.
Irish pawn structure.
Ah.
I mean, you know, these guys, they love each other in the UK. so that's called Irish pawn structure. With all of those isolated, a couple of those are also doubled at the same time. So that's here you go. Anyway, we are getting there. Yeah, queen e4 is on the board. So now, well, Cristian. Well, being inactive sometimes is not such a bad thing.
Easy. Huh.
Right, so Cristian is in trouble once again. Lenderman, Alex Lenderman against Chandra Akshat. This one I'm not sure if we checked at all. Chandra being the one lower on the clock, so it was 1 minute after move 31.
Yeah, I don't think we've actually taken a look at this. So maybe we can just run this one
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
way
yeah.
from
Yeah,
the
just
beginning.
quickly.
It's like a little bit of a
So that
birthday
was
present. We get to see a whole
d4 d5.
game.
That's my fault because I thought it was boring because I've seen they played the Slav exchange, but but not really, right? E3 and bishop b5. Okay, so at least white is putting in some effort for this not to be completely symmetrical, and it already isn't because the bishop didn't go to f5 and left behind the pawns. H3, queen b6, rook to b1, rook c8, bishop h4. Well, not that easy to guess those moves back and forth. Bishop b3, knight b4, bishop e2. So it's been a lot of moves back and forth, really. Knight e4, finally. We need to trade some stuff, and then I can...
Yeah, and this is, all right, now the game has begun, so now we'll see what happens from this position.
But at least, yeah, here, like, the center is defined, and then white clearly sees, okay, that's a king side, or the queen side, let's push.
In general, though, this trade on e4, which is something that you see, I guess, quite a lot, would you say that this actually, like, maybe favors black in this kind of case?
Yeah, most of the times, I mean, as long as you have enough pieces, right? As long as you have enough pieces so that white cannot just go all in on the queen side because he's getting checkmated. Like if we say leave white with the knight and the queen against the silly bishop and the queen, and then all of a sudden the knight lands on e5, then
right,
yeah,
such
then
is a dream, yeah.
I'm very happy. But yeah, that's not the case here. So I'm guessing black, if he maneuvers well, should be more than fine here. So knight to f7, and I'm not sure where the knight's headed. Bishop to c6, well, perhaps just covers the e5 square, right? It was on c6, also covering the e5 square, but white threatened to disturb it. So it rerouted to f7, bishop to d5. Well, actually, it looks extremely solid for black. b6, and then an interesting take just to capture on b6. Bishop c4 is something I cannot really approve on, but anyway. Bishop against...
Yes, he's trying to get some sort of good knight versus that bishop, but I'm not...
Yeah, the bishop on
sure
a2 is not bad, right? The bishop on a2 is not bad, and rook to c5 once again. It's a little bit awkward if you trade, then the knight has to move, then white captures b5. Black's upper pawn though, still. Queen b4, rook to e5. Yeah, that's nice. And hang on a second, capture on e6 and d5 is very tempting. It probably doesn't really work, but d5 at once, yeah, why not?
Okay.
d5 at once, captures, and white thinking. So he can trade on e8.
Yep, yeah.
You can take on d5, yeah, right? You can take on d5, but this is actually quite attractive, yeah, because you have to take with the queen.
Don't take with the
Knight
knight.
takes,
Don't
it's
do
queen f8. Right, so you have to take with the queen, and then once again it's quite awkward because white captures on d5, and the rook, which was perfectly placed on the c file, it has to leave because it has to keep the knight guard. It's b6 or a6, perhaps a6, right, to be at least on a semi-open file. And I'd say rook c1, and I'm fairly optimistic about white's position, even though he's a pawn down, because yeah, like still the back rank threats here and there, still somewhat overextended pawn structure. Like, well, your ideal setup is g6, after which you are getting mated after queen d4 check, right? So you'll probably kind of to avoid the back rank, you'll move the h pawn, but then you're never safe in terms of the structure, right? Because even when you play g6, g6 will be the weak link. Yeah. So I'm very optimistic about white's position here. Right, let me go back to this one. Yeah, that one's quite interesting. And we've reached this. Yeah, so he traded on e8, went bishop d5, and so on. Okie dokie, so let's quickly check what else do we have. Arman Mikaelyan against Denis Kadric. Okay, these guys belong to a group.
That's the dream. They're all trying to move up to the
move 40 achieved. Everything's solid. Black somehow won a pawn in the process, but yeah. Okay.
And just to remind everybody, there is a rule in place that you cannot offer a draw until move 40. So it looks like maybe they've hit it. They could now officially potentially offer a draw
pawn,
if they wanted to. But
Black wants offer a draw, I'm afraid. Black is up a pawn. And finally board 5, or Tigran Harutyunyan with Christopher Yu.
This one started off with something very exciting.
Let's check, because
we're saving the best here. This was one of the more interesting ones, at least in terms of openings.
All right. Yeah, you can immediately
One player has an hour. Christopher has an hour.
But yeah, but
the other guy's got 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's because they originally 40 at the very least.
Well, the rules you said earlier, it's like who played it mostly. And I don't know, play along with that.
You know, modern kids, bishop g5, and he just goes bishop b4. Ragozin niche setup. Knight e4.
Yeah, we have something going on. He's playing g5. He's putting bishop on c3.
Yeah, who cares about the weaknesses?
Look at this. This is great stuff.
Bishop b8.
You saw all these Joko pianissimo's, right? Look at this. This is fantastic.
Yeah. Well, wait a second. What happens? Okay, never mind. Bishop f5, bishop takes e4, right? f3. And that's the moment we've seen it.
Yeah,
and it really looked interesting. Bishop d3, so some really, like rigged position, right? Black has 2 bishops. He somehow played g5, and the position doesn't tell where exactly Black had the need to play g5. Obviously he had, as we already figured out. Queen to d5, queen to d5, knight to d5. Imagine rook b8 was not played, so that Black would be able to castle long. I would think that would be very nice for Black. Anyway, castle short, b4, rook d8. Yeah, so once
Always
again,
counterattack.
intermezzo after intermezzo, and it's another check, and
Yeah.
you kind of have to go after it, otherwise you're a piece down, right? So king to h5.
Got the king all the way to
my
h5.
God.
Uh-huh.
Knight e2, then yeah, rook c8, knight d4, captures, king to f2, and equal material all of a sudden. I mean, there's been so much happening there, and the material's equal. Bishop c4. If anyone, I'm guessing black might be better if the king is safe. Black might be better because somehow he lifted the rooks very conveniently and can double against the a pawn. a4, that's what he
Just
does.
immediately targets the a pawn.
Rook b1, b6. So the rook on a6 can be made fun of, but you know, the pawn's the pawn, you're losing the pawn. Knight f5, how about that for a minute?
Whoa.
Rook takes, it's g4.
Wow.
Yeah.
Some fancy stuff.
King g6 back, e4.
Okay.
Okay. Rook d8.
Oh, trying to sneak around behind the corner.
Yeah, these guys here checks, and you know, ideally, I wouldn't mind like kind of bringing the other rook over. So a check, bishop e6. At least the knight's getting disturbed, right? A check over here, knight h6, rook e2. Oh, doubling the rooks here. Who's checkmating whom? Rook g5 is a nice move, I want to say.
Okay.
Rook takes g2, and the chatters already see it, right?
Chat, we're looking at you.
How often do you checkmate with white's move knight h6 to g8?
Very pretty. Very pretty. Yeah, this would be a fantastic way.
That's an achievement. There should be a, you know, kind of a chess.com page or someone else's page. Yeah.
I'm kind of feeling like you let the chat off the hook with this one. They didn't think there was going to be a test today, but this was a very nice win.
No, but knight g8,
potential win.
like
for
rook
white
g5,
here.
of course, these kind of guys, they see it. But anyway,
Yeah.
like rook g5, and especially if you're in the time trouble, you're looking like, okay, he wants e5, but that's not a checkmate, right? Let's take the pawn. Yeah, okay. Check. King f8. There's been a lot of checks in this game. Rook d8, by the way, it's another checkmate threat.
Very nice.
Rook d2, finally rook.
Okay, Black's had enough of these little tricks. Let's just get the rooks off the board.
b5, b4,
Well,
f4.
plot the policy which scored
Yeah, now it's a race. Now it's a
And
race.
I don't know, I played line that was prepared a long time ago. He had already like maybe needed to.
Relax for a
checkmate
moment.
threat
It's a little
again.
checkmate.
And
e7, f5, bishop a2. Oh, wow, calm. Rook e2. So not rook g. Sorry, rook. He played rook g7, not rook g8. Rook g8, rook d8, perhaps. And you can't really do much. And the b pawn is running. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is how Black maybe is trying to promote. Just all you got to do is not get
So
checkmated.
rook g7. What's the point of rook g7? It's kind of e6 or something.
Yeah, but that would require you to move the
Rook
knight first.
e2, rook e2, so e6 is not even running anywhere. Knight to g4. Well, that's one sharp game. Whoa. And it's still going.
So I'm looking for what the trick really is for white, because otherwise Black is just 3 moves away from a queen.
I mean, I'm so tempted to say that this works, because I understand, yes, like you block the bishop scope and white actually can play e6, but then the b pawn certainly costs white a rook. Right, a check, and then just clever move with the king is needed. Is king e6 clever enough?
Maybe then they're both, they can
It is.
well,
and
he
you're
played
not cleaning
Propolsky, which
so white
of course I
can't
didn't feel
push
like
the
his.
pawn here though too, because then the rook would be hanging.
Well,
Yeah,
he played Propolsky,
but
which
that's
of
the
course I didn't feel like
thing.
his.
Like white probably,
Propolsky.
white's
And
best bet is to go here, b1.
played the
hit the
Propolsky, which
rook, but
scored
then
prepared.
those pawns are not as dangerous than they might seem. Because the bishop is here, the king is here, like everything stops the pawns. And also, black still has one
He
pawn
played
running.
Propolsky, which of course I didn't
I
feel like
believe
it.
black must be just winning here. b3 was just played, and just to
So we'll see if
confirm-
there's like an actual trick here for white or not, because
Yeah.
failing having a little trick here, it's just going to be a queen that's appearing on the board for Black.
Right, it does seem that black is winning. e6 played anyway.
Okay.
Okay.
So expect this one to kind of wrap up here pretty soon.
Right, but I feel somewhat tricked that yesterday we've started this one and it was like half games finished. The other ones absolutely like clarified, some calm endgame. Well, you know, you can talk for hours about how Lenderman's position was drawish and resources. And now it's in, wow, It's so much. I'm overwhelmed with all the tactical possibilities here and there.
Yeah, every day is a different experience. You never know what you're going to get when you tune in.
Right. So what do we do then?
All right. What else is happening?
What else is happening in the A group? You may want to ask. Well, the guys are actually still not out of the woods in terms of time control.
All right. What move are we on here?
That's move 13-9.
Okay.
Vidit just played
Almost
rook
there.
h3, almost there. But pawns are getting traded, so well, perhaps in this direction of the A pawn not being able to promote. But this, yeah, since black did not collapse immediately, this will actually go for quite long.
Okay.
And the other one, just to check, over here, it actually did simplify to what I believe is a completely drawish. We could just fast forward or rewind a bit, yeah, and fast forward what has happened after knight d6. Bishop takes, rook takes was played, traded here, and bishop to d7. So he can't really, or for whatever reason, he didn't play bishop a4, which I thought wasn't a bad move. He decided to trade, go bishop d7, but then white is just on time to win the pawn back. And trade the rooks.
Just
as well.
trade
the rooks as well. Yeah, so this you can't really win.
Okay, so we expect this one also to end in a draw. The players, they're getting serious. Is this, I guess, is there something different about round two than like round one? Because like round one, you know, there's like maybe a little bit of nerves. You don't know at the tournament hall, you don't know where you're sitting. Maybe you're not quite sure, you know, which side am I putting my water on? You don't even know like the little details. Is it just a lot easier day two, like in general in the kind of tournament?
It should be.
A little bit warmed up.
Well, I think that these are like, once again, two possible scenarios. So some people, they kind of start the tournament, a lot of results, you know, and we all got getting hyped up, but if the field is more or less even, then still it peters out, and let's say in the middle of a tournament you'll have like a draw round or something like that. Yeah, and it might be quite the opposite, right? So one result, a lot of draws, one result, a lot of draws, but at some point it explodes.
And this tournament has no rest days, so this is just 9 straight days of chess. So it's very possible that if things start going wrong for a player, they might just continue to go wrong, or who knows?
Yeah, that's very common. I mean, you get tired, and not only that, but also people. We used to have a joke like that, like, okay, everyone gets this cross table printed out, and kind of based on the first couple of rounds, they are putting little crosses in front of the names. Okay, this guy is clearly out of shape, so that's my prey, that's my target.
Marking it out ahead of time, so you know who to attack.
Yeah, and it goes further than this, because they say if you look at the cross table and you do not know whom to mark, that means that a lot of people marking you.
Very true. So,
yeah. Anyway, it looks much more exciting in the big group.
If you allow me. Let's just keep the rest of our attention there then. Let's see.
All right, so Christopher Yu's game once again. I believe so far the most entertaining out of the positions that are left.
No problem staying here for just a minute.
Yeah, that's what we've gotten.
Did white have any little trick here, or is black just making a queen?
Yeah, I don't think white has. Let's try to use, machine is of no help whatsoever. Yeah, like rook b7 is not the strongest move. Much stronger is to give a check and to go rook b1, and this much stronger leads to the position where black is, the evaluation is -6.
All right, so we have cheated a little bit, so we do
that's
now
a much
for
stronger
sure.
version. Yeah, rook b7 is even worse.
Well, now it's easy, and this is, I guess this is also another thing that kind of happens. Once you know what the computer says, it's just easy, obviously.
Nothing to talk about. Yeah.
What would you even say? Easy win for black.
Yeah, we always knew this.
Didn't see anything for white. Turns out, obviously, there's nothing there. So.
Right, and you know what? We had a little chat today at the St. Louis Chess Club with some people that. Perhaps chess is the only sport when, any game you watch, pretty much, like be it basketball, football. Usually me as the fan, I'm not happy with what he's done, the player, right? Where were your eyes? You should have, kicked the ball in the other direction and so on. But we all understand that it's kind of, if I will go and try to perform, that won't work. But with chess, like I'm sitting here with my, old 10 years old phone, and still I know for sure that I can find better moves than Magnus Carlsen simply because I have an engine, right? So that's unique in this regard. All right, so, well, our task as commentators, I believe, very often would be to kind of calm the public and to explain that, yeah, I mean, it's easy for an engine, but when two players playing, sometimes, I mean, they have a very cool, brilliant idea, which doesn't work because of one little move that they're missing, right? And usually when you play a game on high level, it's a dialogue with your opponent, right? So but I know I'm threatening this, and he said, yeah, but I've seen this, and then therefore, yeah, I'm playing this intermediate move. That's what they do a lot, right?
We've seen quite a lot of that in just this tournament, yeah.
All right, so Cristian, our guy, well, he survived for now.
All right.
He survived for now. He
we
made
have a couple
his
moves here to catch up on.
He made his move 40. He's down 2 pawns though, but I don't think it's hopeless. Okay, maybe it is. Maybe it is. Yeah, I mean the c pawn. The worst of it, the king is still very weak, right? So the c pawn is moving, and perhaps it will not promote, but it will kind of drive attention of one of the white pieces, and then the king is doomed. Yeah, so it's really, really rough for Cristian. Yeah, indeed, this Irish pawn structure proved to be not very good. And what's interesting, Black didn't even capture on f4. He started by taking on c3 and then giving a check, taking on f4, which might have been even stronger. Queen f3, rook g1. Well, he just, I don't know, captured all the pawns. Is it even fair?
I hate when they take all my pawns.
Yeah, bishop b4, bishop d5. White, yeah, that's awkward for white, because white really has to avoid the queen straight. So he has to make this ugly move, rook g2, to avoid like trading the bishops, and the queen is not pinned. Yeah. Queen f4, okay, anything would have won here, perhaps maybe might have been kind of more precise way, but what Black has done is apparently good enough. d6, queen c7, d takes, and so on.
And can we actually take, I guess this one, I mean, we're seeing this trending in Black's favor. Can we actually take a look at the Kadric game in the B section? I believe we have a major update.
Okay, well, what's going on? So Black's winning here, then we said Christopher Yu is upper rook.
Okay, yeah, we're expecting
Lenderman is the only unclear position, and Kadric has already won with Black. Is he the guy on 2 out of 2, by the way?
He is doing very well.
He is doing very well indeed.
So yeah, that is actually, I can confirm, his second win. So
right.
Excellent start for Denis Kadric.
c5, trading here, knight c6, knight f3. So some really strange looking I want to say London system, but it wasn't, right? So in fact, it started with the moves of Trumpovsky attack, which is bishop g5, but then, yeah, you kind of played the London at the same time with the bishop on f4. Right, looked fairly simplistic. And that was the one with the extra pawn for Black, this endgame, and Black, I didn't expect him to win that quickly.
Yeah.
You remember rooks, knights, and an extra pawn for Black.
Let's see how it happened.
So king to g7. First of all, how did he manage to win the pawn? Queen h6 is an interesting move, because one could think, okay, let's trade and double Black's pawns. But with this structure, well, here specifically, White also has like rooks a little bit off the rook on g3. But with this structure, very often, like Black puts the rooks on the b file, c file, and then it's really awkward, right? You move the b pawn, so b pawn's attacked. Like you move the b pawn, the c pawn will be attacked. Later on, knight goes away, the a pawn is pushed, and so on. So these pawns with such material, with such structure, it's not such a terrible, let's say, such a terrible double pawn. Queen a6, but still, perhaps it was better to trade, because queen b1 clearly gave Black the initiative. So knight to c4. White wasn't sure where he stands, so he wants to keep the queen to keep attacking, and that's very common, in fact. Like over here, once again, one should ask himself, like, yeah, I don't want to trade because I'm attacking the king, but am I attacking the king with a move like queen b1? And perhaps the answer is no. And then, yeah, and then you probably swallow it and just trade.
Dreaming of some sort of sacrifice on g6 in the future, some sort of sack, but we'll see what happens.
So knight goes there, knight to f5, queen d6. I mean, White's still solid, right? A3.
Yeah, where exactly does this go 100% wrong?
B4. Okay, queen to c6. Rook a1. Why not b3? I suspect like something is... There's something there that I don't see. But anyway. Here a5. So was it still possible to play b3? Because that's what I would have done. Maybe b3, queen c3, and then black having access to c3 square is also annoying. But by going a5, you're almost guaranteed to lose this pawn.
Okay, it looks like maybe that's...
Yeah, that's exactly what happened, yeah.
All right.
Takes and h3, traded, king f2. That's
Okay.
what we said was
So
move.
we were looking around here.
Move
All right.
40, it turns out that black is like winning pretty quickly.
Okay.
Rook goes in, knight c4, rook f1, and another pawn falls, right?
Okay.
Knight e5, pawn takes, rook g... Okay,
He
so
does it this
he
way.
just
Very
resigned.
clever.
Yeah. He just
Okay.
resigned, so another pawn falls,
Oh, wow.
and you can't even activate the rook. Rook c2, black is not forced to take the pawn. He'll give a check,
Deliver a
follow a
check
check,
first.
perhaps, and then
Trade
just
it all off.
go over there, or give a check and with king on d2, just take on g4, attack these pawns. Yeah,
Wow,
that's
wonderful. And we
that's
actually
a-
will get to hear Denis Kadric, Denis Kadric talk about his victory. He's now the tournament leader. He's got 2 points out of 2. So let's go ahead and jump in and see what he had to say about his game.
All right, thanks for coming on the show. Fresh off your victory against Grandmaster Arman. Denis, tell me all about how you did it.
Well, he played the Trompowsky, which of course I didn't prepare. Like it's like who plays the Trompowsky, and I don't know. I played a line that I prepared a long time ago. But he played a very like when he played knight d2 after c5. That's I think already like should be equal. But to be honest, I'm not so sure like in the game what happened. So if white wants to play, he should play bishop d3, I think, instead of knight d2, because that kind of I think somehow prevents me to play knight c6. But okay, he played knight d2. Everything was pretty much forced, like knight d2, queen d2, knight c6, knight f3, c d e d, bishop f5. Everything really forced. c3, e6, bishop d3, take, bishop d6, queen d6. He castled short, and now I'm 100% sure that my engine, that's what happens when you just look at the engine without actually thinking, that I castle, and now the best should be like rook e1 with knight e5 idea. But he plays the most logical knight g5, and now, I don't know, I mean, he threatens queen h7 checkmate, so I think I have to go g6. He goes queen h3, I have to go h5. And now he plays f4. And now in the game, like I wasn't sure, because in the game it looked like at the beginning for me it looked like I don't have it, like that he's just playing on one goal, to be honest. But then in the game, like when I found this, I think it's good, not really sure. This rook a8, rook e7. The idea is that now whenever you try to push some g4 to attack me later on, to give me checkmate, I always have or f6 with queen f4 take, or even just king g7. King g7, and the idea is if you take gh5, then just rook h8. So I always have some defensive ideas there, so you cannot really just go crazy like that. I guess in a blitz game you could do it, but in a real game it's gonna be really hard. So what happened later on? So I played this rook e7, rook e8 plan. So he went now back queen d3, which is fine. I mean, he played some king h1, queen d3, doesn't really matter. And now here, when he played rook e3, I saw that his plan is rook g3, but to be honest, I saw a very important idea that I think gives me maybe even the edge, is this knight a5, rook g3, queen a6. Very important move because if you take queen a6, I think it's really bad for you, because after ba6, I'm gonna attack your queen side very easily, like rook b8, rook b7, knight c4, knight d6. If you play b3, then I attack the c3 pawn. Looks very annoying because you have really now nothing on the king side. I mean, we're playing a Carlsbad pawn structure, so he should be trying to attack my king there. So what happened? Queen a6, queen b1, and now here a very important thing that works for me is that after I play knight c4, that he never basically has knight f7. Knight f7, I take rook f7, queen g6, king f8. And now I always kind of run away with the king. So he played rook e1 after knight c4, because I was threatening knight d2. And now after knight d6, because now if I manage knight f5, it should be just, black should be slightly better, because I blocked the whole king side, and now I will slowly do the normal plan that you do b5, b4. So what happened there is just want to say that after knight e6, knight f7 again doesn't work because of rook f7, queen g6, king f8, and now a very nice line is queen h6, king e7, and now you can take on e6 with the rook or the queen, but both are really bad because if you take with the rook, I go king d7, and I'm threatening queen f1 checkmate. If you take with the queen, then king d8, and now you're losing your queen. So that's kind of a tactic that works out for me. So now he realized that he cannot sacrifice, so he went back, like rook e3, knight f5, rook e2, and now I had a really, to be honest, I think that it was just like a very simple position for me because he's also low on time, and I just push b5, b4. I think what he shouldn't have done is that c ba4. I think that I'm just way too active for that to work. So he should probably just try to defend passively. But then again, I understand that you don't want to defend the whole time. Yeah, so I think it was a good game, to be honest.
Well, we love to hear it here. Thanks for coming on, and we wish you luck going on in your third round.
Thank you very much.
That was Denis Kadric, who now sits on 2 out of 2 points. He said he was a little bit surprised by the opening because, after all, who even plays the Trumpovsky?
Wow, it turns out some people do.
And then he ended up, he got attacked immediately and came up with a lot of good defensive resources and was ultimately able to turn the tables. I also would like to take a quick look. I think we have a decisive result now in the Christopher Yu game, if we can run over there.
Yeah, so that's...
We're expecting a win for Christopher at some
so
moment.
We've seen it when it was some pawn races, right? So b3, e6, that's something that we've seen. b2, a check, rook d1, b1, so not much has happened. Okay, so f6, that
Nice
actually
way to
is
do
a
it.
trick because f6, if you capture, it's actually not so clever because f7 and the knight controls it and the pawn actually does promote. But yeah, but black just goes king d6, e7, bishop g6, and now black is absolutely safe. King e6, king f5, and that's...
Yep, and that was the end of the
that
game
was
there.
It, yeah.
All right, so that is a very big win for Christopher Yu. Is there anything else that we still have going on? I believe we have at least 2 more games going on in this section.
Yeah, so what I want to say... I want to say that 3 games were won with black out of 4.
Wow, this is becoming a trend.
Out of 5,
Everyone's winning with black.
And then Christian might be in a lot of trouble with white again. That's what we've seen, right? Queen to c7, d5, d7, c4, queen e4. Black might as well just bullshit. Or don't know. Well, so what Black's debating is does he win after queen f4, I believe? Because it pretty much forces white to trade. I mean, you can give a check on e6, but then off we go, right? h4 is hanging, the c-pawn survives.
Yeah, hard to imagine how you survive if the c-pawn just
Yeah,
runs down
but
the
also
board.
if you trade, I mean, with rook being somewhere else at least, but not g2.
All rook and pawn endings are draws, right? Is that true if you're down 2 or 3 pawns?
That's what they said. Yeah, that's what they said. Okay, and then we have Lenderman where, a lot of stuff has happened apparently in the time trouble. Bishop d5 was the last moment where I looked at it.
Here.
Yeah, I was very optimistic for white in this game. Rook to c1, queen d8, rook to d1, queen f6. Rook c1, rook d1 somehow feels a bit underwhelming. Rook c1 again. Okay, so maybe
What's
white
the threat? Is there a back rank threat now?
not really. Like you're probably hoping for black to kind of lose control of over this knight with one of the pieces, like rook a4 would allow queen d6, rook c8.
This is the kind of thing I'm waiting for.
Oh yeah, but h6 eventually was played, so now king is no longer in danger. Still, I would believe white has like a lot of compensation, if not more than that. Queen to c5, king h6, king g2. So the problem for black in this position is that it's very hard to come up with moves, I believe. Hang on a second, is rook c6 a move? Can this be? Can this be a thing? Because you can't actually take, So you're returning the pawn this way, but at least you're getting rid of this very annoying rook on the 7th rank. So it's this, and it might be still very awkward, right? Because they keep telling us queen and rook better than queen and bishop, but it really depends on the position, right? Because this knight is fairly restricted. Yeah, but maybe black saves this way. I don't know. Goes g6 and possibly even sacrifices the pawn somewhere but goes active on the king side. Anyway, so this game is still in progress, and that's the only one where it's
All
still
right,
unclear.
and I believe that we
who's
actually
gonna
do
win.
have one more interview. We have Christopher Yu, who's going to be able to explain his win today.
Okay.
All right, I am here with Grandmaster Christopher Yu, and fresh off his win against Grandmaster Tigran. Tell me, Chris Yu, how did you do it? Tell me everything about it.
So I didn't have the best experience against this guy the last few games because I had a traumatic and horrible game where I was much better and I hung a rook in one move in a much better endgame. And I did not want that to happen again. So that was my main goal of this game. Don't hang a rook like that. In case I get a good position. Let's start with the opening. So I knew he played like all different moves on move 1, so I didn't go super deep into preparation because I know I couldn't know what to expect because I saw he went knight f3, d4, c4, e4, g3, and it's just like a random move generator. So I just decided to play the game. I didn't go for my regular opening. I didn't really want to take him into whatever preparation he did. So I went for a little bit of a interesting sideline, which I think leads to quite complicated positions. Because I saw like Gukesh Dorma Raju was playing it, and he's a very good chess player. So I kind of knew that he was doing it and beating people, so it can't be that bad. So bishop b4, e3, h6, bishop h4, g5, bishop g3, knight e4. And this is kind of the point. I'm threatening the c3 knight, and I can go like h5, h4, and get initiative on the king side. And if they don't know what they're doing, it's actually very annoying. And I could tell he didn't quite know what to do because he spent about 15 minutes here. So it was nice to know that I probably got him out of preparation. And I never saw this queen b3 move before. Most people develop their knight with knight g2, defending the c3 knight and developing at the same time. But instead he went very concretely, immediately attacking my bishop. But kind of the problem is the c5 move. And the queen on b3 is kind of awkward because I feel like white is just kind of lacking development here to justify this attack. He needs to first get his pieces developed before moving the queen out. But I have no idea what the engine says, so maybe what I'm saying is complete bullshit. But this is just my opinion that queen b3 is not a good move, but maybe it is a good move. I don't really know. Bishop takes b8, rook takes b8, bishop d3. And yeah, here I felt like I should have a good position, but it wasn't actually as simple as I thought. Because after bishop f5, bishop takes e4, bishop takes e4, f3, my d5 pawn is surprisingly weak. And despite the fact that none of his pieces are developed, kind of concretely, I'm forced to give up this d5 pawn. So he might even be equalizing here. Because I was calculating queen a5. a3. Bishop takes c3, queen takes c3, queen takes c3, v takes c3, rook c8, knight e2. And I thought that should be a draw. So I wanted to keep it more complicated by playing bishop takes c5, and this was a somewhat risky decision because he literally could have taken an exchange with after castles, knight f6 check, king g7, knight d7. But I thought I had enough compensation after bishop takes e3 with my super strong bishops and his weak king. And I was kind of looking to get this double-edged position, but instead he played b4. Which is the most safe thing to do because he gets rid of my c5 bishop. I can't go bishop d6 because of rook d1, followed by knight f6. So after b4, I'm forced to play like rook fd8 to attack his knight. And now there's kind of a funny sequence of moves. So knight f6 check, king g7, attacking the knight. Knight h5 check, king g6. And now he forces my king all the way up to h5. And my king on h5 looks very awkward and funny. But in some cases, it can be actually useful. Because when he plays g4 check, I have king h4. And if I'm not getting mated there, the king is actually quite nice there. 92, rook bc8, knight d4, rook takes c5, king f2, rook d6. So this was interesting because I saw he had like 7 minutes and I had 1 hour because I was moving super fast for some reason. So I didn't really love my position, but I still liked my chances to go for the win here because of his time. So rook hd1, bishop c4. So I had a pretty basic plan of just going rook a6, rook a5, and attacking his pawn. And I feel like there was some way to defend the pawn, but it's not easy at all to figure out with only 6 minutes on your clock. And if my king is not getting mated on h5, it should be a good position because my pawn structure is better. So a3, rook a5, a4. I'm not really sure what the point of these last few moves were, because if you think about it, if he had went after bishop c4, if he had went a4 immediately, I would have went like rook a5 or rook a6. And instead he plays a3, gets my rook to a5, and only now he goes a4 with my rook on a5. And I was very confused, like what this was all about. Cause I think it was kind of due to his time pressure. He was panicking. And the thing is, he has no mate. He tried to get some mating, like rook d6, but it's all like imaginary because king g6, and now my king is safe again. e4, rook takes a4, rook d8. So yeah, he's still going for mate. At this point, he doesn't really have anything better to do because he's down a pawn, and I have these passed pawns on the queen side. So rook a2 check, king g3, bishop e6. I like this bishop e6 move because he was threatening like rook h8, rook takes h6 with possible checkmating ideas, but bishop e6 prevents this because if rook h8, bishop takes f5, or rook g8, king f6, knight takes h6, rook e2. Now, rook e2, h4. So we kind of needed to get rid of my g5 pawn because otherwise, like rook a2, and his king is in this mating net because of my g5 pawn. So it's kind of ironic that his king ended up being the one in the mating net when he literally just played for mate the whole time. But then somehow his king ended up being the weaker one due to other factors. G takes h4, king takes h4, rook a2, and here he goes again, like rook g5. Threatening mate in one. This guy still really wants to checkmate my king. But I was like, yeah, let's move my king back. And he simply has no mate. And here we go. Knight g8 check, king f8, rook d1. Once again, he threatens mate in one. Like, this was his whole strategy this game. Keep threatening mate, and hopefully one time I'll blunder it. Like I blundered my rook a few years ago. But I went rook a d2, and once again he was getting really frustrated because he's like, I cannot checkmate this guy no matter how many times I threaten it. Rook takes d2, rook takes d2, e5, b5, f4, b4, knight f6. Like here he goes again, threatening rook g8, rook e8 mate. I was like king e7, and at this point he looked like he was about to like smash the board, cause I keep defending his mate. f5, bishop a2. Just trying to go b3, b2, rook g7. Rook d. So after rook g7, he had one more trap. So b3, e6. King takes f6, rook takes f7 check, king e5, e7. I could tell he's a sneaky dude, but the problem is my move rook e2. Sorry. So after rook e2, he cannot go e6 because of king takes f6, rook takes f7, king e5. And the problem with e7 is I can just take his rook. And my pawn on b3 doesn't block it. So after rook e2, I think it's simply completely losing for him. And I was surprised he didn't go for rook g8 again, trying to mate me, but the problem is rook takes e5. And it's a very unfortunate day.
Yeah, I feel you. Well, it's great to have you on. Thank you for coming on, and good luck in the rest of your tournament, Chris.
Thank you.
That was Christopher Yu on his big win over
yeah.
Tigran Harutyunyan. Came in with a big lofty goal, the goal of just not hanging a rook. And he managed to do that today and a little bit more with a huge win and a monstrous interview. Now, I believe we do have a little bit of updates that we can make on these standings. I know that the Yangyi game, this one ended in a draw. But with that, we're actually going to begin wrapping up our coverage for the show today. We will be back every single day at 4 p.m. Central Time. But let's just keep you a little bit updated as to what has been happening in the A group. Illia Nyzhnyk had a big win today. That puts him at 1.5, tied with Nijat Abasov, who had a win in round 1. We have Yangyi coming up with a draw. He has 1 point. He will be going up against Hans Niemann, who also has 1 point, as our marquee matchup for tomorrow. Vidit and Nikolas Theodorou are still playing it out, so we don't know exactly what's going to happen there. But this is a very exciting tournament. There's still quite a lot that could potentially happen. Now, in the B group, here are the standings. We saw a lot more wins today. Raunak Sadhwani, Denis Kadric, and Christopher Yu all getting a point. And we have 2 people with a perfect score so far. Sadhwani and Kadric sitting there with 2 full points. Christopher Yu right behind them. And we still do have quite a few games left to go. We got Lenderman, we got Kantor, we got Chirila, we got Chandra, all waiting to finish their things. So with that, I think it's been it was a little bit of a slower day, I would say.
Yeah.
But sometimes that means the best is yet to come. What are your thoughts on today, Miro?
Well, slower that the more games are still in progress when we are about to leave. But we've seen it all. The Queen sacrifice from Nyzhnyk, right? Like Christopher Yu, I really enjoyed the interview. Like,
yes,
how
he
many
really
times
says
you
what he
threaten my
feels.
king?
He lets you
What's
know
up?
what he
What's
really
up?
feels.
Yeah.
So.
And really, really a lot of results, especially like the big group. We expect that 4 out of 5 games will be won with the black pieces,
Yes.
right? With only one potentially being a draw. But that's once again, I'm walking dangerous ground because yesterday I've claimed Lenderman's game to be a draw and it wasn't.
Right.
So now
you never
that's
know.
once
Yeah,
again,
everything is
you
always
never
up in the
know.
air when it comes to the Fall Chess Classic. And once again, if you do want to reach us on social media, use the hashtag Fall Chess Classic. Thank you, everybody sitting here watching with us, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on Twitch. It's been an excellent day. Chat has been insanely clean. It's just one of the nicest chats you could ever hope for. So thank you to everybody that's tuned in. We'll be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central Time. Please make sure that you check it out. And that today concludes our coverage of round 2 of the Fall Chess Classic.
This has been a presentation of the St. Louis Chess Club. Any reproduction or distribution of this content without the express written consent of the St. Louis Chess Club is prohibited.